So we are missing Tony. And, sir, are you Mike, our
I am
alternate?
Mike Felmley, yes ma'am.
All right, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Should we go around and introduce ourselves to Mike, or does everybody know Mike?
I don't know him. Janine does not know me. I'm Mark Fleschhauer. Great to meet you.
Okay, Janine Richmond.
Jeff Tansel.
I don't know none of you. I live on the east end of the island.
All right,
It's
well,
fine.
Well, that's why.
But you're eligible to vote in this meeting as an alternate,
Yes,
since
sir.
we have a 5-member seating, so we have more than a quorum.
All right, well, welcome to our committee. We're glad to have you. All right, so I am, I guess, acting as chair with Pat's departure. And we are going to wait until Tony comes back, hopefully next meeting, to talk about nominating a new chair. So we have called to order with our gavel, and I guess we need the agenda approval.
Move we approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. Approval of prior minutes.
Yes, I haven't read them yet.
Yeah, move for approval.
Thank you.
That's why you guys.
This is not, as I recall, the how we came out of the meeting when we go to the selection of the audit committee. I do not know that we had any recollection of of weighted numbers. Okay. So the weighted,
I
okay.
do.
Okay,
Yeah, we
this,
did do that.
Yeah.
okay. What was the raw score, though? I don't understand raw score. We never
Those
talked.
were on the spreadsheets that you guys had done, it did the raw score and then weighted it. And that was the form that the previous committee had come up with. But yeah, it was a spreadsheet and it did it all for you guys.
Yeah, but there's, true, but I don't know that that had any bearing on the final decision.
But it was what was on the spreadsheet that you guys turned into the board, so I'm not
Right.
sure why it would really, I mean, if you don't want it in the minutes, it doesn't matter, but I don't see.
But was the raw score used as part of the ultimate decision?
I,
Well, the ultimate decision was overridden by the board.
Well, I know, but they,
Here, I have the raw score, and I have my
no,
chicken
no,
scratch
I
here.
understand what the
Okay.
raw scores were.
Gotcha.
I mean, if you guys don't want them in there, I couldn't care less, it's completely up to you.
Yeah, I'm just,
I guess what you're saying is the raw score did not factor into any decision-making we did.
right.
This could lead someone to believe that it was a 50-50. Could have gone either way.
Yes, that's the part that I
Yeah,
would
but
prefer to
I
have
hear
it
you.
struck from the minutes.
I'm okay with that, too. So we didn't look at that score at all.
No.
I don't know, do you think we did?
I mean, we went through the exercise for a reason, so I don't want to say we totally, dismissed the raw score and the average. I think we went through the exercise, we took it into consideration, it was one of the factors.
True, but but in this state, it almost looks like there were two scores, and there really was just one score that we made the decision off of ultimately.
So you just want to scratch the raw? And
That's what I
leave
would
the weighted?
recommend to do.
I
It
actually am okay with that.
Okay, I'm okay with that. All right.
I guess that's the vote, 3 out of, has not been.
Yeah, I would just, if I would, one of you should make a motion that. to
I move
approve
that
the
we
minutes
strike
with
the,
change.
strike the raw score from the minutes.
Second.
Call for vote.
I'm sorry, call for vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and vote moves. Any nays? No, good. Okay, strike raw score.
Other than that, I move the minutes be approved as adjusted, as amended.
Yeah, second.
Okay, thank you.
Motion?
Motion to approve.
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and these, all right, thank you. Okay, there is no public present, so we can skip public comment. Discussion of ongoing fiscal year 2022 and 2023 audit. We have Elsa here, welcome. Hi, we are ready for your presentation, or your update, not presentation.
Sure. So we're currently working on the financial portion of the audit as well as the compliance portion of the audit. For single audit purposes this year, there are two major programs that we're auditing. We're auditing the Part F grant, which was for the pier purchase, and we're auditing the Lockwood Folly Water Resources grant. So we're in process on that information right now. We are working through the balance sheet. Kind of how we audit is we start with your balance sheet and work through that, and then we go to your income statement. So we're working very closely with Daniel and Margaret right now to get that wrapped up. I would say we're probably about 50% complete with that portion of the audit right now. So we're going to be continuing to work this week. We will get you guys a list, or David will get you and Daniel a list of our open items on Friday, and we'll try to wrap those up next week. So we're just kind of working through everything. The way the audit goes is once the open items are complete and we've audited the balance sheet and income statement, we can start drafting the final audit report. That process is a good, at least 6-week process to draft it. We put it through a couple technical reviews at the partner level. We do proofing for formatting on it. We get a final PDF together. We'll send David and Daniel a report, final report to review, and that actually goes to your third party, Alan Thompson, I believe, as well. So he'll review the financial statements and get back with us if there's any questions. And then from there, we get your final representation letter and submit to the LGC. So we should be on track for the October 31st deadline. I would expect a good draft probably by mid to late September, based on our time frame, and once the audit items are actually fully complete.
Okay, that sounds great.
What level are you in the organization? What?
Sure. I'm a senior audit manager, so
Okay.
I'm one step below partner.
No, that's fine. That's.
Elsa, would you add some clarity for the need to do the two single audits, the one on the pier and the one on the Lockwood Folly Inlet?
Sure.
Because the pier was $500,000, and you were telling me that there's a different threshold. In the past, we've used $750,000, or that was probably an outdated number, but could you elaborate on that?
Okay, so there are different thresholds for federal single audit versus state single audit. The threshold for federal single audit is $750,000. But these two grants that we're auditing are state grants. So they are each over $500,000 or more. And, the Part F, I know that was actually spent in fiscal year '22, but the grant wasn't approved until fiscal year '23, so that's why we're auditing it this year, or fiscal year '23 year.
And I asked for clarity just for the audit committee's information that these were not anticipated.
I see.
These were, we were thinking we were done with the FEMA one, and then these were not anticipated. We're still having to do it.
And just to update you on that as well, because they were not anticipated, we do have to redo our audit engagement letter. And typically, I mean, the fee portion is discussed at the partner level, but typically with the extra single audits, there is an extra fee for that. So that is in process, and that will be coming to you before the audit is submitted. If you need more information on that, I'll be glad to get it for you.
That's fine, thank you.
I will ask a question.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
I'd like you to Dick and Jane the part of audit, the part of grant, and start from the beginning. It wasn't anticipated, it was spent in 2022, approved in 2023. What was it spent on? What do you mean, what are you auditing?
It's the peer purchase that was made.
I'm asking not about the peer purchase.
Okay.
I'm asking about the part of the peer entity, okay?
Okay,
Part of it comes from a trust fund from the state.
right.
It's managed, there's certain strings attached to that. What are you auditing?
It's the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund. Basically, that grant was approved for the purchase of the pier. There are, I can get you a compliance supplement that would provide more detailed information. Basically,
I'm just asking you what you're auditing. The grant was for $500,000.
right.
What of the $500,000 are you auditing? Repairs, land purchase, building, what part of that? Because there's strings attached to that. When you take a part of grant, for example, that pier now is in perpetuity to the state. They're on the deed, okay? The state owns that as well as Holden Beach. So, and there's a certain aspect of that grant that applies to buildings. So if money is applied to repair or build a building, that building is owned by the state and the town apparently for 25 years. So are you saying that you're auditing the money that went to the pier, to the land, to the buildings? What are you auditing? $500,000 is $500,000.
The money that went to the pier is what we're auditing.
To the actual pier structure.
Let's make sure that there's clarity on that
Right,
issue.
that's why I asked you,
This,
Dick and Jane.
this is a reimbursement for the purchase of the property. The property includes the buildings and the land. This is a reimbursement, one-time reimbursement
I understand,
for the buildings and the land.
but nothing to do with the pier.
The buildings include, the building's description includes the pier. The entire umbrella of that property, everything on it, was purchased, and this is a
Okay.
reimbursement of the $3 million
Okay, so
purchase.
nothing of the $500,000 goes.
It's not parsed out, this dollar goes for repairs, this dollar goes for purchase. It's the purchase reimbursement.
Oh, okay, that's not the way it was explained to me, okay.
Well,
So-
that's the way
so
that it
let me-
was, that's the way that it was briefed to the board,
Okay, so let me ask.
and that's
you-
the way that it was approved by the
Right,
board.
so let me ask, so what are you auditing? Where the money went to?
Right.
So where did it go to?
We're in process on that audit, but it went to the pier, the buildings, the property, the land.
Okay, I guess you don't, okay.
Well, I mean, let me explain it. Let me attempt to explain it this way. The town spent $3 million on the property, and this is a reimbursement of $500,000 of the $3 million that the town spent on the property.
I understand.
What does the grant oblige the town to do other than just make this purchase? There had to have been something.
There's quite a few strings that go along with it. Generally speaking, they are written in the deed, and
Let me try to, I've spent an incredible amount of time over the past 2 weeks talking to the people in Raleigh. No one that I've spoken to yet understands where the money has gone to in the civilian community. No one that I've talked to understands that that land, that whole piece, that entity, is deeded to the state in perpetuity. We have paid money to turn that, our tax dollars, to turn that pier over. When she said she did an audit, I didn't know what she was auditing of the 500,000, just to make sure that we had spent 500,000, because it's reimbursable. So is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Also, you're required for the next 25 years to maintain the structures, whether you like it or not. They belong to the state. All right? And all I'm just asking is, you're just trying to audit where the money went to.
Correct.
All right.
And I can provide, the state provides what's called a compliance supplement, and that details the requirements of the grant, and that's what we're auditing. So if you are curious and would like to see that, I can email you a copy of that.
I'd love to,
Okay.
because the same thing's gonna happen to the parking over here in Lot Q with another grant that we've asked for, that's turned over to the state in perpetuity.
correction on that, the board has not approved the submission of that grant
That's
yet.
correct. I said it's like, the one they're asking for is the same thing, just a different trust.
David, I'll send that one to you.
Okay.
I don't need to be wise.
No,
I just wanna
that's
know how
fine.
it's audited.
Well, I mean, it's real simple. There was one transaction. $500,000 came back to us. It went into bank. Pretty simple.
Well,
That's true, but I don't know that the general public was aware that the state had an ownership interest and required maintenance of that.
Well, I mean, it's the golden rule, y'all. You use somebody else's money, you don't obey their rules.
Okay.
Okay. Good information. All right, so we know that we have 2 single audits, and that is, I did not know that the state had a different threshold. I had worked for a healthcare organization, and we use the federal threshold of 750,000. We just haven't been as fortunate to get state funding of 500,000 to have that requirement. So you'll let us know what those additional fees are then?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so we'll wait to hear about those. All right, so confirmation of audit schedule and dates of presentation. So I took a look at last year, and last year, we met on Halloween, October 31st. So this committee, are we looking to meet around that time again, so that we are before the board meets in November?
Yeah, I think that the minutes had said, actually stipulated anytime the last week of October, 23rd through the 31st.
Yep, there it goes. Should we have Heather send around a request, since Tony's not here, to see if, what date works for everybody in that time? Anybody know right now that that time period doesn't work for you?
Not right now.
When we solicited last time for those dates, the only date that you guys gave me that we couldn't do is the 26th. I believe Mark had something on that date
Well, I've since,
changed.
yeah, that whole time frame would be out for me.
Now that COVID's over, I may have to travel for a board meeting on the 30th up to New Jersey, so I might prefer the week before.
I'm glad you think COVID's over.
Well, the government has dismissed it as a.
Well, it's still around, but that's.
Right, right. Okay, so,
Yeah, the week before would definitely work better for me.
okay, good.
Or the later in the week after, but,
So what day are you looking at?
23rd to 27th, in that range, I would prefer.
Okay,
and I'm gone the
now.
26th and 27th, so the 23rd through the 25th.
Okay. We're narrowing it down.
Well, Elsa, will we be finished that week?
We should be, I would expect so. Now, I know with, my schedule is pretty hectic, as you know, we have a lot of reports going through that week.
Yeah.
So I typically, I know last year I did this presentation over the phone, and then I'll, of course, be here in person for the board meeting.
Mhm.
So if that is still okay with you, that would be preferable for me, because otherwise it'd be quite a bit of travel time during a high.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll have,
Yeah, can we wait till closer to the time frame to, we've got a couple people that aren't even here.
It's whatever, however y'all want to do it. I mean, Heather can
Is-
ask for availability that week.
Could just block it out, and then Heather can send some out as we get closer to nail the date down.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't commit to anything right now, it's so far out.
yeah.
all right, so we're leaning towards between October 23rd and 25th, and Heather will send something out.
But you want me to wait till closer to those dates, is that correct?
Yeah, maybe
Like
early
beginning of
October.
October,
And depending on their timing too, if they aren't gonna be done by then we'll have to maybe do it the following week or.
because the board doesn't meet until, my board doesn't meet until the 21st of November, so if you had to go
Even the second week,
afterwards,
yeah.
it wouldn't be terrible either.
So would that be the audit presentation the 21st?
Right? November 21st. I believe so, yeah. That'd be the first meeting after the end of October.
Okay. And what time is that meeting on?
5 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, down to any other business.
I just have a question to Heather and David. We're supposed to have somebody from the board on here, and they, as far as I know, haven't even addressed it. Would anything going on with that, or?
To be honest with you, you'd only have one more meeting until you guys are, January is when your guys' terms are, so I'm not sure if they would put somebody on the committee for just one meeting anyways. That's why you have an alternate. So you still technically have a full board, you just don't have a commissioner on there
Yeah.
right now.
Well, neither.
Isn't
The
that
Board of Commissioners has got a vacant seat too.
Right.
That-
So you'd have one more meeting before we actually would do the normal assignment of a commissioner to the committee. And it is an election year, so I'm
But
not
as-
sure that you'd be able to bring somebody
I
up
know,
to
but is
speed
that,
in one
as,
meeting.
was that the consensus of the commissioners? Is it
The
it's their,
commissioners didn't discuss it when Commissioner Potowski.
but it, shouldn't it be their choice, not staff? I mean, this should at
I mean,
least,
yeah, I mean, it's not our.
this should at least be addressed as an agenda item.
I can
at the
see if
next
one of the
board.
boards want to sponsor that as an agenda.
Well, that's what I was
item, yeah.
questioning, because it was required from the board that we have somebody on
it's
it.
in what do you call it, document that we.
The bylaws, or whatever it is for this committee.
Yeah.
So I just curious why I didn't think it was
Uh,
important
Yeah.
enough.
I can't speak for them, but
Yeah.
I mean, we can ask them if they would like to address it. It's just,
It just seems like that decision needs to come from the board and at
Oh,
least some
it's not,
official-
it's not coming from the
That's
staff.
not- that's not
It's
our
not coming
decision.
from the staff. When the board doesn't act, on a matter that.
I'm not sure, was the board aware of,
I mean, yes, when she resigned, yes, they
Okay.
were aware that she is the commissioner that was on this committee. We could ask them and see if one of them want to sponsor it to put it on the agenda.
okay.
Well, by then it'll be too late. We won't have another meeting probably.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Since they haven't, that's what I was saying, since they haven't addressed it at this point, I don't know that they would for one meeting, but that's not my decision, it's the board's decision.
Yeah, it's my own point.
Seeing we're having this meeting, I feel obligated to ask some questions. Seeing we brought you here, you're high-paid people, and you've been doing this audit, you're in the process. Have you noticed anything? Is there anything that's taken you off to some branch or sequel to look into? Is the bar, I mean, where, you sit there and you say, well, we're there, we're doing this, we're doing that. Have you seen anything in the audit? Is there anything that strikes your interest or strikes your, as a financial analyst?
As far as recommendations,
What you've seen so far? We brought you here, obviously, to get an update from you.
yeah. We're still in process on everything. As I find recommendations, I will certainly make them. I do know, that we are kind of still waiting on some items. We're working through that with Daniel and Margaret. So, I would say probably just planning ahead as much as possible for the audit would be preferable. I do know this is very soon after year end, so, there's a lot that goes into it, but.
And where?
As far as like final journal entries being posted, things like that. I know there's a lot of time that goes into that, but, and being as prepared as possible before we come out would be preferable.
Just as an add-in, I know that you're still providing final entries and therefore will require an independent review of those entries by someone else in your firm.
Right.
And we're paying for that feature as part of the audit process. How much of those final entries are you still performing? Or is it still a substantive part, or would you refer to it as a relatively minor part? You're not closing all the records of the town.
No, and we are, due to independence issues, we cannot post all final entries. We cannot initiate and post those. We are providing as a non-attest service the asset portion of the audit. So we are keying in and running your additions and your disposals, and then we run those part of the entries, which we are already completed with.
Okay.
And then we also assist with the Elgers portion of the entries, and then the GASB 34 portion, which is just for your governmental funds rather than your water and sewer fund.
Okay.
So,
But basically, none of your entries would affect the cash accounts other than between funds cash accounts, the overall cash that the town has, none of your entries would have affected any of those balances.
none that we initiated, no.
Okay.
Any other business?
No, I have nothing more to add, so we're good.
All right,
Can I move to adjourn?
you sure can.
Second?
All right. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, no nays? Done. All right, thank you, everyone.